This is going to be a tutorial on introduction to double hits. I don't think there's anything like this out there right now, so I've helped a few people learn how to do this, and I wanted to just make a video on it. Some of the things that you're paying attention to learn how to do double hits when you're first trying to learn it. So I'm going to use the Dyra room in Medicine Cave, the second room of Medicine Cave. So the first thing is, what does double hits do? What do they do? What are they for? If you're looking at normal combat, usually you use the Dyras as an example. That's usually where you want to try to take out enemies quickly. That's one thing, and it's also preventing momentum, time loss of momentum during combat. So every time, I'm going to load up this room here, every time that you strike an enemy, crouching, or just a normal crouch stab, watch the background as I'm moving. You're losing that much time every time that you do a crouch stab. If I were to attack an enemy, every time that I take a hit and do not kill the enemy, I lose momentum. So the whole process of improving your combat, double hits being one of those, is intended to eliminate or reduce the amount of, not eliminate, but reduce as much time loss due to loss of momentum as you can. So let me just show what a double hit looks like. You probably have seen it before. It's the falling stab with a rising crouch stab afterward, and I'm going to go into detail breaking that all apart. But that's what it looks like, where you're just taking out an enemy like that. That's one way of doing it. Or you do it on the first hit like that. You can do it a little bit faster. Those are the two different ways, and the second way is a little bit more advanced, based on knowing the distance to the enemy and everything. I'll get into that at the very end of the video. The important thing is the time loss is reduced. So if I'm just doing a normal stab, these guys are 3 hits with attack 4. I lose momentum 3 times. The red guys are a little bit different. Usually you have to wait for them to throw their axes. And it's 4 or so plus extra time. So let me just show how long it takes to do the room with doing just the normal, just trying to be safe and not do the double hits. So just doing crouch stabs, 1, 2, 3 on those guys. Usually you do this and wait. Missed. Sometimes I do that, and then, alright, 17.5 seconds. Maybe that was a little slow, but 17.5 seconds. Now, let's do it with the double hits, like as fast as I can do it. Or I'm going to try anyway. This way. 12.9. It's 4.5 seconds faster. I'll bet I can even beat that. Oops. Okay. So pretty close. So that's 4.5 seconds, more than 4.5 seconds difference, just by reducing the amount of momentum that I'm losing. So in order to do double hits, that's what the double hits looks like. Neutral jumps. There's a handful of components to this. Neutral jumps being the first one. So watch what happens if I'm jumping over an enemy and holding down forward. The enemy's aggro he'll sort of back up and try to not let you jump over him, forcing you to take him out, right? That's part of the game. the actual underlying mechanics of how that works is the enemy is reading your D-pad inputs. Different enemies do it differently. Watch, that guy kind of started and is farther back. The red guys are a little more careful, I guess. They really don't want you jumping over them. So if they're reading your D-pad inputs, then you jump over them by simply not pressing anything as you're jumping. You have momentum as you jump. So get about a block in front of them, jump, release your D-pad as you jump. Watch my input display. Jump. Just neutral jumps. You can get right over the guy. Now it doesn't always work because for the red guys, because they're going to throw axes at you. Right, but you can get over them with. You still have to, you know, react. But the idea of neutral jumps is the enemy's not going to be moving forward or backward. They're just standing still. And getting a feel for how each enemy is slightly different, where to do the neutral jumps, getting a feel for that is definitely part of learning how to do the double hits, improving in the game in general, improving your combat. So the second part of this is the rising crouch stab, which you might have learned from doing tin suits. That's when I originally learned how to do the rising crouch stab, was just to take out the tin suits faster. You can do a rising crouch stab, take them out, and move on, right? You can do that with these guys too. But getting your muscle memory for the rising crouch stab is extremely important. In fact, you can just stand here, hold down, and do A and B quickly. You don't want to do it at the same time because then you won't stab, or stab and then jump. Doing it in the wrong direction doesn't work. It's a jump, a fast A-B press. Just practice that. And then once you practice that, moving forward, using some forward movement. So the rising crouch stab is important to know for this. That's the second part. Neutral jumps, rising crouch stabs. Alright. Another way of reducing time loss is the falling stab or falling crouch stabs. Let me show the difference there. Falling crouch stabs. Usually I use falling crouch stabs instead of falling standing stabs when I'm doing normal combat like that, single hits, because you have more time to react to start moving in. If I tried to do it with standing stabs, I'm like already on the ground, and you lose more momentum if you saw that. The background, the link comes to a complete stop if you're doing the falling standing stab before you can start moving in. If you do a falling crouch stab, it kind of gives you more time. You can get started faster. Oops. It's very slight, but it feels a little bit more fluid to do falling crouching stabs when you're just doing single hits. As you're moving or increasing in your combat skill, when you're first beginning or being super safe just doing the crouching stabs, you sort of advance to the falling crouching stab, and it's a little faster. But seeing the difference between all of those things, falling standing stabs and falling crouching stabs, rising crouch stabs. And then finally, the combo, the double hit combo, is you're taking the momentum time loss that you're going to get anyway from the first hit while the enemy is stunned, and getting 2 hits off at the same time. So you're reducing the amount of time loss with respect to momentum by a factor of essentially 2 to 1. So usually what I explain to people when they're first learning is, with these guys, do a falling standing stab first. Some people do it slightly differently. There's different techniques. I think the easiest way to learn is to do a falling standing stab, and then because the guy is stunned, because the enemy is stunned, you have time The enemy's not going to move, so you can get into the hitbox. I shouldn't say he doesn't move, but you have time to get into the hitbox and do the double hit. If you try to do the crouch stab, that also works, but sometimes you can't get close enough, like this. Yeah, I'm doing it because I've got a lot of practice, but if you do a falling crouching stab, you're farther away from the enemy, so sometimes when you do the second jump to do the double hit, you're not close enough and only one of the hits will connect. Not doing a very good job of, kind of like that. Trying to adjust. It's kind of something like that. If you're not doing it right, and it was a slow rising crouch stab, but that time. But that's the idea. Usually when I see people learning how to do double hits and it's not working, it's because of this, because they're doing a falling crouching stab where they're too far away. It's kind of like that, yeah. It's kind of like that, where they're too far away and you're not getting into the hitbox enough. So don't be shy. And I usually say the easiest way to get over that is to switch over to a falling standing stab on the first hit, right? And then jump right into the hitbox. Look at how close I'm actually in the guy's hitbox. I'm standing on top of him. Or directly in front of his toes when I land that second jump. Okay, that's the movement with stabs. The second part of that then is the neutral jump, right? If I were just holding straight the whole time, these orange guys it'll work for, but the red guys it won't work. They're too far away. Like that, see? Actually, this is a better example. The red guys are a better example. If I just hold right, sometimes you can't even hit them. That's why learning the neutral jump is really important. I'm just holding right the whole time, and they're too far away. They're too far away. So then watch, neutral jump, stops, get right in close. The orange guys are 3 hits, the red guys are 4 hits at attack 4. But see, I'm doing the neutral jump on the red guy. I'm actually doing it on the orange guy as well. Because once you get some practice in, you'll know how the enemies react, and how to jump and how to properly manipulate them. So what I'm doing on the red guy there is I'm doing a quick falling stab, but if you just want to do the double hits, normally, so here, let me just do this. This is 1, 2, 3 hits, 3 hits of time loss. If I do it here, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's 3. Since the final hit, you don't lose momentum unless you're doing just a normal crouch stab. But if you're doing a falling stab, you won't lose momentum on the final hit. So there's 3 hits where he's stunned and you lose momentum. This one it's basically 2 when you do it that way. 1, 2. I only lost momentum twice instead of 3 times. Here I did a falling crouching stab, still worked, but if I do it on here, see, that last hit didn't connect. So that's why the standing stab is important. So another way that it gets done sometimes is this. Stab, double hit, land, and then do a rising crouch stab. Or that's usually what I've seen. I'm trying to think. Standing stab. No, it's got to be a rising crouch stab. Either you do it on the fall, like this, which is what I usually do, or you can take it a little slower and just do a rising crouch stab afterward, like that. Okay, so neutral jump. When you do the neutral jump, you want to land right in front of the guy's foot. It's going to push him back so that the attack will miss. And then on the red guys, it's also helpful because you're going to do the first stab, land right at his foot, push him back a little bit, and then during the second jump, when you're going to do the actual double hit, if he's going to throw an axe, he'll throw it there and you'll jump over it. You will not get hit by that axe the first time. Yeah. Or like that. Okay. So I hope I've explained at least that well enough. There's lots of examples here. When you fall, you land right at his foot, push him back, and you just go right into it. Watch my input display, slow the video down, whatever you need to do to get exactly the set of inputs that I'm using. It's more about feel. Some people feel it differently. Some people pause a little longer. Some people are really smooth at it. The higher end players are really smooth at this. All right, so that is the way that I usually show a learning the double hits, where you do the falling stab and then a double hit jump. Now, if you'll notice, you're still losing momentum on those orange guys twice. You're not actually saving time. If you just do the normal way, falling, crouching stabs, you're only losing momentum twice. That's also doing the double hit is also 2 sets of loss of momentum. So to avoid that, you can do the double hit on the first jump. But in order to do that, you have to have a lot of control over your neutral jump, which is why I usually say when you're first learning this, don't do it that way. You'll see a lot of the top level players are going to do the double hit on the first jump. Let me show you what that looks like. I didn't get it that time. There. Look at how close I have to be. That the landing of the first hit has to be a lot more precise. Sometimes I don't even get it at that time. It really only works for the orange guys. The red guys you can do it with, but there are 4 hits, so it doesn't really matter. And a lot of times you're gonna get hit by an axe. So I usually just do the normal. See, that one would have hit me if I had done a double hit on the first jump. He threw an axe right away. Which is why the easier way, where it's just a falling stab into a double hit, is fine for the red guys. For the orange guys, you can save a little extra time by doing the initial double hit as sort of a more advanced version of double hits. But I would not recommend starting off that way. Got right into his hitbox that time. Oops. So this is the normal stab, stab, then double hit, stab, double hit, stab, stab, double hit, stab. And then double hit, stab, stab, double hit, stab, stab, double hit, stab. So that guy threw an axe, and see how I just jumped right over it? It was just part of the process. I didn't do anything special, I just jumped over his axe. And you're doing it fast enough where even if it was a double axe, a fast second axe, that sometimes happens, you're going to take him out before that second axe ever comes out. So once you get this practice down enough, your combat not only gets faster, but it also gets safer. The final thing, which I can't show off here, is once you get really good at this, sometimes you're just you're just going through towns, just practicing the double hits. Stab, double hit, stab, double hit, stab, double hit, stab, double hit, double hit, double hit. You just keep doing it. Sometimes it's something to pass the time while going through towns. You just don't want to lose your momentum by standing. It's something more common in the glitched runs, like any percent. For example, you're going to be fighting Dairas at really low attack levels, level 1 and 2. So there are a lot more hits, and if you're really good at these double hits, you can chain them all together. You can just keep doing it. Boom, boom, boom. Just keep doing double hits over and over and over again. These guys are only a couple hits each, so sometimes a double hit, single hit. You kind of alternate double hits and single hits. But if you can control your position with respect to the enemies, you can just chain them and get right into the hitbox and just keep going. Watch some of the more advanced any percent runs, especially the red Dairas in Hammer Cave. I think sometimes it gets done on the blue Lizalfos right before Great Palace. In some of the categories, you'll see some really good. LSD Hippie 420 is really good at this. Simple Dude is really good at this. There's a few runners that are really good at chaining them together. Lightning, also. For the most part, for all keys for these normal categories, this is all you're going to really need. Is attack 4 Dairas, 4 hits, 3 hits, take them out quickly. Attack 3, it speeds up attack 3 runs quite a bit. And use this cave to practice if you are able to do save state practice. That's how I do it. Take a look at some of the other runners and see how they do it. Thanks for watching.